and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. The Ellettsville Town Council held a second reading of a rezone request. At the August 23rd meeting, Councilmember Scott Oldham talked about the petitioner's request to rezone a section on West State Road 46 from Commercial 3 to a planned unit development. He asked Planning Director Kevin Talati for clarification on whether the petitioners had to go through the Town Council to build if the area remained a C3 zone.
At C3, this apartment complex can be built, but it has to have commercial on the bottom, correct?
Correct.
And there is nothing at this point the council would need to do for the developer to build under those C3 conditions.
Correct. If they chose to build the apartments with commercial underneath, it would just go through Plan Commission for a development plan approval.
But that would almost be automatic, would it not?
Yeah, as long as they meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance, yes.
Resident Brian Thomas expressed concern over how the project would affect the area traffic. He said the project design fits the neighborhood, but that apartments would overwhelm an already crowded Deer Park area.
The traffic is already terrible trying to get out of Deer Park, and this is going to make it even worse. I think the other concern that I have is, there's no guarantee that the other open roads will happen over to the stoplight. So, I think that's a big concern for all of us who live in the neighborhoods. It's difficult to drive through there, and I think the area would be great for houses. It fits the neighborhood, and would definitely stay in line with what we thought would be built back there when a lot of us moved in. Been there about 16 years now, and really just hope that this one is not approved, and long term Mr. Blackwell thinks about another option if the Ridge Group doesn't move ahead.
Councilmember Trevor Sager motioned to approve the rezone. He said the Town Council had no say in how the area was zoned when they annexed the land, and praised the petitioners for helping scale the project back from commercial use.
I believe that our hands were kind of tied in this matter when it was Zone C3, when it was brought into the town. I would like to thank the Ridge Group for working with us to make this the best possible project.
Councilmember William Ellis opposed the entire project. He linked it to the Envision Ellettsville project and added that the vision of the town must start in planning.
We have to get our vision of Ellettsville right in our planning and zoning. And I think this is more of a failure of something that's happened years ago that we're paying the price for it now. And we're going to be moving forward with Envision Ellettsville. And it really breaks my heart because I think the people involved with that, this isn't a vision for Ellettsville.
The motion failed 2-2, with Clerk Treasurer Sandra Hash abstaining on the tie-breaking vote. Without 3 votes on either side, the resolution is tabled until the next Town Council meeting. The Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners met on August 23rd to review and approve the 2022 Parks General Fund budget. Director Paula McDevitt shared survey data collected from Bloomington residents. This was used to assess what has been successful and what needs to be improved upon moving forward.
When we asked residents what prevents residents from using parks and recreation services, not enough time, and I think we can all relate to that, trying to make time in your schedule, but we hope people do, and that we can see that number go down in the next master plan. The number 2 response was personal safety and concern. The park or trail is not safe. And number 3, my neighborhood does not have a park, recreation facility, or trail within a 10-minute walk. We also always are asking our residents how satisfied they are with our programs and services. And this question asks the value that they received. And you can see that in this graph that 83% are very satisfied or satisfied with the value they receive from our parks and programs.
McDevitt highlighted the Parks and Recreation Department's sustainability achievements. She said the recently installed solar panels have been helping meet the city's goals to reduce energy consumption. McDevitt shared that the Parks and Recreation Department's major initiative moving forward is to provide equitable access to high-quality green spaces. She also focused on programs which declined due to COVID-19 that they are hoping to see increase in popularity again soon.
We're seeing a nice return of people attending all kinds of community events. But of course, we're continuing to monitor the pandemic very closely and keeping our safety precautions in place. Two areas that saw a surge of participation despite the pandemic was in tennis. And we saw people out on our courts in record numbers in 2020. And that resulted in about a 500% increase in tennis lessons this year. We used to average about 10 to 15 a session. We are seeing well over 100 people in our sessions this summer. So that was certainly encouraging. And golf, across the country, I think golf is on an uptick. And at our golf course, we've seen a 13% increase in the 18-hole golf course offerings there. So again, being careful, being mindful, but good to see people out being physically active.
The Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners voted unanimously to approve the budget as presented. The budget won't be finalized until it is approved by the City Council in October. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
Do you know that thousands of children go without school supplies every day? Teachers Warehouse is a 100% volunteer-powered organization. We service the educational and creative needs of students in Monroe, Brown, Greene, Lawrence, and Owen counties by distributing school supplies free to the teachers. Teachers Warehouse is composed of 7 rooms filled with books, pencils, paper, and even tools to motivate students. If it's in a classroom, we'll supply it. To donate new or gently used school supplies or volunteer, give us a call at 812-929-7522 or email us at contact@teacherswarehouse.net.
Welcome back to CATSweek. The Monroe County Board of Health revisited how the county is doing in relation to COVID-19. At the August 23rd meeting, they covered Indiana University students coming back to the campus, the Monroe County mask mandate, and the potential for a third vaccination shot. Kirk White, co-chair of Indiana University Bloomington's COVID response unit, shared how IU has continued to prepare for COVID. He explained that IU is giving out masks, testing, requiring vaccines, and establishing ways for students to quarantine if they contract COVID-19. Board member Ashley Craner expressed concern over students who were unvaccinated or had been exempted from the vaccine. White assured the board that the students who have received exemptions from the vaccine are receiving weekly mitigation testing. Board member Celinda Leach also expressed concern that the students at IU and some Monroe County residents are not aware of the mask mandate.
I know there was a store that I saw this early this week, and they had a sign, but it says it's recommended. And then when at the door, a member of the public walked in and said, "Do we have to wear masks?" And the person that was manning the door said, "It's recommended." And it said, "See, we follow CDC guidelines, which recommend." And it's not a recommendation, it's a mandate.
Legal counsel Margie Rice shared her experience with mask compliance. She was overall positive about how well Ellettsville and Monroe County have been following the mask mandate.
The town of Ellettsville did not vote on anything. They did not say that they weren't going to comply with the mask mandate. And so she and I think are like-minded, and she knows that we're going to be enforcing the mask mandate in the town of Ellettsville. So we haven't had a lot of compliance or problems out there.
The Board of Health also discussed the potential for Monroe County residents to receive a third vaccination shot. Health Administrator Penny Cottle explained they are not yet sure what the booster shot would be, but that they are working on it. The next Board of Health meeting is scheduled for September 8th. The Monroe County Community School Corporation School Board discussed changing their procedure for determining when to close due to COVID-19. At the August 24th meeting, board member Aaron Cooperman presented recommendations from the MCCSC COVID Monitoring and Advisory Committee. Cooperman recommended that the school district look at individual COVID-19 cases per classroom rather than look at the overall percentage of positive cases. She said each classroom is unique and should be treated as an independent situation when determining if classes should close.
Given the unique characteristics of each situation, we didn't feel that it was clear that the number of cases indicating a need to close would be the same in every instance. That's why we think it's important to go through these factors every time to make a determination rather than saying this is the right number to close every time.
Board member April Hennessy suggested that more emphasis be put on contact tracing. She said finding and isolating positive cases early would be the optimal way to keep kids in in-person classes.
So if our goal is to truly keep students in school and online, I would like to think about moving that contact tracing up so that when we have reports of sickness or illness in a classroom, we begin the contact tracing then and begin to notify those close contacts so that we can quarantine. I would rather quarantine a group of 4 or 5 kids for, 2 or 3 days until someone gets a positive or a negative result than to not do that and find out later that the spread has continued while we were waiting for those tests.
Hennessy requested the vote be tabled so changes could be made to the policy. Her motion failed. Board members voted to approve the policy as written. The next Board of Health meeting is scheduled for September 8th. During their August 24th work session, the Monroe County Council discussed a report on county job descriptions and classifications. Council member Jeff McKim questioned Wagner, Irwin, Shaley and Associates senior consultant Addie Rooker whether Monroe County should be scaling back its longevity system. Rooker replied that the incentive is great, but that reducing the cap from 49 years to 35 could free up money that the county can use elsewhere.
I think it's a great program you have in place, so we're not recommending that you get rid of it. We wanted to show you how you compare to some other counties. It's unique in the fact that it does go out to 49 years. And if the council were looking for ways to fund employee salaries, this would be one option. You could either freeze or eliminate a longevity pay to use that money to make pay adjustments if you chose to.
McKim commented on the importance of having an independent firm look at the county's job classifications. County Council Margie Rice reiterated this importance. She said past county councils have dropped the ball and that this county council has an opportunity to set up a new system.
The fairest way to treat employees is to be equitable and to be objective. And so I would encourage you, and again, I want to let you off the hook because this has happened over a period of about 16 years. I don't want any public members, tuning in and thinking that it's this configuration of the council that has been haphazard. This has happened over a period of time, but you guys are going to get the opportunity to build a better system.
Councilmember Trent Deckard warned against words without actions. He said it would be important to learn from the mistakes that previous county councils made in implementing WIS's plans.
I also say this with a little bit of heartburn that we've said that before. In fact, it looks like we've said that since 1991. I've not been here all that time, but it passed his prologue. It sounds like it's easy to get into this mess again. And if we would go down this direction and figure out what we got to figure out, I think it's an important consideration to look at what does go wrong that prevents things from happening.
The Monroe County Council meets for its first budget session on September 8th. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
for hurting families in Monroe County.
A contribution to children who are vulnerable and in need of an advocate.
A staff that goes above and beyond to support and advocate for children in need of services.
The web of remarkable people who are dealing with difficult situations.
So many young people that are in need of help and trying to find a stable family, a stable place to live. Without the CASAs to make that happen, many of them would be unable to find a good home.
I love being that voice for the child who can't speak for themselves in court.
It takes me out of my comfort zone, and it also helps others.
CASA means supporting our community.
Being a CASA is making sure that your village is healthy and whole, and that the children in your village will someday be able to help the village as well.
A child who doesn't have a voice, maybe in their family situation or a school situation, now has a voice that can advocate for them.
I really enjoy working with children that are going through difficult times and letting them know that I care about their future.
We are privileged with our charge of representing the best interest of children. And so therefore we can advocate for exactly what they need without restriction, focusing on their best interest.
I want to repair the world one child at a time.
Welcome back to CATSweek. The Monroe County Board of Commissioners met on Wednesday to authorize funding for paving the Karst Farm Greenway and repairs necessary after the flooding this summer. The Board of Commissioners voted 3-0 to approve funding for the Karst Farm Greenway project. The county received a grant from the Department of Natural Resources to turn the old train corridor into a recreational trail. The trail will connect Ellettsville to Woodyard Road. The Showers Building and Health Building were approved to receive funding for flooding repair after the heavy rain on June 19th. The board also briefly discussed the future of flood damage prevention. Vice President of the board, Lee Jones, expressed concern that flood damage is costly.
Well, it was a little eye-opening how much repairing flood damage can cost, and to think that so much of the downtown suffered this, and probably everyone has expenses similar to this. It just strikes me that maybe more attention needs to be given to the possibility of flooding and what can be done in the future to prevent it. And in particular, consideration of the fact that as we put in more and more and more impervious surfaces, nothing can happen except more and more flooding.
The board opened the floor up for public comment. Citizens expressed concern over Monroe County's voting access. William Hosea spoke on behalf of the Monroe County Black Democratic Caucus. He explained the importance of expanding the voting board.
I also wanted to support the county clerk's request because I believe it's imperative that the request be approved, and we should do all that we can to support her efforts to ensure that we have perfectly executed elections. I also feel that the assault on the democratic process will only worsen, and we should make a decision to do what's best now while it's our decision to make, instead of being forced to react as a result of the war on voting rights.
The next meeting will be held on September 1st. The Bloomington Historic Preservation Commission discussed a home on West Kirkwood Avenue. At the August 26th meeting, Historic Preservation Program Manager Gloria Kalam introduced plans to make renovations to a home in the near West Side Conservation District. She said city staff approved the COA, but that the near West Side Design Review Committee had additional concerns with the windows.
The second question from the Design Review Committee. Secondly, I would like to see more information concerning the proposed window replacement. The windows shown as an example do not fit the house, having 3/1 glazing. The original windows, if they are what we see in the photos, are 1/1 glazed windows. I know we cannot say don't replace. However, we do need to be looking at whether this house would meet guidelines if the neighborhood becomes a full historic district.
Commissioner Chris Sturbaum asked the petitioner about the condition of the wood siding. He suggested that the siding underneath the windows might be worth keeping.
I've just done a lot of these, and
almost always 90% of the wood is okay beneath it. I just did one, just finished, and we took all this off. In fact, it had asbestos siding, which we removed. And by replacing maybe 5%, it was scraped and painted, and all the wood details are there. There'll be wood up in these gables, like wide pieces there. These probably had Victorian details on them on the corners, but the porch has been changed. But I think you're going to find that the siding may be better than you think.
Commissioners approved the COA unanimously. The Community Advisory on Public Safety Commission discussed leadership roles at its August 26th meeting. Commissioner Nicole Johnson recommended that commissioners rotate through officer roles each meeting. She suggested that roles are assigned to new commissioners at the end of each meeting.
With that presence, I believe that's once that we see who shows up. Now, we can pre-pick a facilitator, obviously, because they need to be able to connect with city staff. You know what I mean, the week before. So we would pick these people for the following week. They would know their position for the following week, and that was it. That's it.
Commissioner Najla Routsong suggested scheduling the rotation out in advance. She said commissioners are not always keen to volunteer for officer roles, so scheduling would help make sure each commissioner performs the role.
Because what I'm concerned about is also from my previous commission experience, I don't think we're going to have people loudly volunteer to take these jobs. And so my other thing for fairness would be we would be required to do this. And I would suggest that maybe for planning purposes and to avoid, like Renee was saying, where people aren't going to be here and that's going to be why they'd never do it. For planning purposes, maybe we have this all planned out in advance in the year and we say this month here's going to do it. And we all either agree to be there, do it that, month. And if we can't, we let Becky know and maybe she can find someone else.
Commissioner Renee Miller moved to have a work session on September 9th to continue discussion on establishing bylaws for the CAPS Commission. Commissioners agreed. And that is all for CATSweek. Thank you for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.